Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 15th April 2022. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see today's quote. So today's quote is given by Mahatma Gandhi, who is our father of our nation. So he says that live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. So this quote, it is related to education. So you have to learn as if you were to live forever. So he mainly talks about importance of education here. So now let us try to see first topic. It is regarding the growth banks. So in yesterday's lecture we studied about estimates of World Bank. Okay, that is growth estimates of World Bank. So in today's newspaper we saw one article in our editorial page which mainly talks about this growth estimates of World Bank, and this topic is important from our economy point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 3, and this topic is important from your mains. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So as we all know that World Bank came up with this growth projections for South Asian economies, and it said that the growth will be 6.6%. Okay, so this is the thing which mainly said recently, but earlier it came up with estimate that said that there will be the growth of 7.6%. Now it downgraded to 6.6%. So it is mainly focusing on this post-pandemic growth, and even because of this Russia-Ukraine conflict, there is some negative impact on the economies of the country. So if you see some highlights of that report, so World Bank in its biannual South Asia Economic Focus Reshaping Norms, a New Way Forward report. So the name of that report is Biannual South Asia Economic Focus Reshaping Norms, a New Way Forward report. And this report which mainly projected that India's growth will be 8% in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023, and in this later on in next year, so it will be like 7.1% in 2023 to 2024. So this is according to our growth estimates of India. So if you are talking about the South Asian region, so the growth which is mainly expected to be slower than projected. What are the reasons or factors? Factors here is Russia-Ukraine war, okay, and even we are seeing there is a fragile growth, and there is increasing of this commodity prices, and we are facing some bottlenecks in supply and financial sector vulnerabilities. So these are some important factors that led to the slower growth expectations in the South Asia region. So if we are talking about the impact of the war, so impact of the war has seen further fasting inflation. So because of this ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, that led to having some negative impact on inflation, that is there is increasing of inflation that is mainly seen, and because of inflation and because of increasing of crude oil prices, that also increased this import bills, and that will further lead to increasing of this current account deficit, and even there is increasing of this physical deficit as well. And this report also suggests that countries, they must look forward, okay, regarding greener fuels, that is renewable energy, and we need to focus on how to decrease this commodity prices and fuel prices in the market, and we can go for introduction of the green taxes. So these are some important highlights of the report. So not only World Bank came up with this estimates of growth, but even there are some important organizations like Asian Development Bank, RBI, and even some economists. They mainly came up with the projections. So now let us try to see one by one. So if we are talking about Asian Development Bank, it mainly expected that the GDP is going to rise 7.5%, and the retail inflation will be 5.8%. But in the yesterday's lecture we studied that it is more than 6.9, and we are going to expect it will be like reaching 8% in the near future. And even RBI, that is Central Bank of India, also came up with this growth estimates, and it mainly hopes that 7.8% in February to 7.2%, while rising its inflation projection for the year more supply from 4.5 to 5.7. So here RBI mainly came up with these estimates. It mainly said that So the growth estimates in India, it will be like 7.8% in February, and because of rising of inflation, rising of commodity prices, and because of the supply chain disruptions, so now it mainly downgraded to the growth will be like 7.2%. And even many economists, they also expected the inflation to be very much higher, and it will be like even about 7% in the first half of the year. So if we're talking about inflation maintenance, so we need to target our inflation, and the targeting of inflation will be like 4 plus or minus 2. It will be like 2 to 6%, and we are seeing that it already crossed this benchmark of inflation target. So mainly to control this inflation, we will be having monetary policy. So monetary policy from this RBI, and we will be having this fiscal policy from the central government. So here RBI and as well as central government, they will be having monetary policy and fiscal policy, and this policies mainly focuses on addressing of inflation, right? So this is the one important thing that you have to remember. And now this article says that, so because of increasing of inflation, so that will have some negative impact on the growth, that will decrease the consumption in the market, and finally that will not leads to revival of our economy. So now we need to rethink about the growth engines as well. So what are these growth engines? For example, we can talk about different free trade agreements. So we need to go for rejoining or revisiting of this RCEP as well. So whenever we are talking about this RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, so in November 2019, India came out of this RCEP. Okay, but this RCEP will provide a market for our Indian goods. So even though there are some countries of India, so RCEP will be providing a good platform for our goods. So we need to revive or we need to revisit this RCEP in this context, right? And if you're talking about this farm sector, which has so far been resilient through the pandemic worst phases here, right? And we need to focus on this agriculture sector as well, okay, because we are seeing there is a high global food price or seen. So because of this, we need to handle with a care regarding this farm sector. So even IMD and as well as in yesterday's lecture, we studied about SkyMet came up with monsoon forecast, and they said that there is no El Nino here, and here in this year we are going to expect normal rainfall, okay. So because of this, that will be very much helpful for this kharif crop in this rain-fed regions, and hopefully the rural demand will be increased and the cost of inputs will be decreased, right? So here we need to focus on this farm sector as well. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to say next topic. It is regarding IMD, that is India Meteorological Department. So here IMD came up with a forecast of our monsoon. So now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So this will be important from our GS paper 1 under geography. So already I discussed about what is this monsoon in our day before yesterday's lecture, where we studied about this SkyMet, that is a private organization, forecast of this monsoon this year. So there I discussed this topic. If you have not watched that topic, so please go back to the playlist and see the day before yesterday's lecture. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you are talking about this IMD, okay, IMD came up with a forecast of southwest monsoon. So this southwest monsoon will be bringing rainfall into India, and it is very much important for the kharif crop especially, right? So here this IMD came up with a forecast, and it said that this year monsoon will be normal monsoon. Okay, so this year monsoon will be a normal monsoon. We are not going to see any El Nino. So there we discussed about what is this La Nina and as well as what is this El Nino, right? So what happened here, we have Australia and here we have South America. So this is our Pacific Ocean. This will be our East Pacific Ocean. This will be the West Pacific Ocean. So in the normal year, we can see here the low pressure will be there, and here in this eastern part of this Pacific Ocean, we can see high pressure. So according to this PGF, pressure gradient force, here the winds mainly moving from high pressure to low pressure. Whenever the winds moving in this direction, they will be carrying enough amount of moisture with them, and that will causes rainfall in this Australia as well as in this India. But what happened during this El Nino? So the reverse phenomenon is happening. So instead of low pressure, here we can see high pressure will be there, and here on the coast of South America or eastern coast of eastern part or eastern Pacific Ocean, we can see low pressure will be there. So there will be the movement of winds from the high pressure to low pressure. So it will be having some impact on our Indian monsoon. So we are not going to get El Nino here, but we are going to have a normal monsoon this year. So this is the thing which mainly said by this IMD. So monsoon which is mainly considered as normal is when rainfall between 96 to 104 percentage of this LPA, okay, long period average. So when we are comparing with this long period average, it is 94 to 104 percentage means 96 to 104 percentage means it mainly comes under this normal year. And here IMD does not expect an El Nino here in this year. Right, so I discussed about what is this El Nino, right? So here, if you are talking about what is this LPA, that is long period average, so it will be like 84 centimeters of average rainfall. It is mainly based on 50-year average, that is from 1951 to 2000. And later on, we decreased it to 88 centimeters. It is based on 1961 to 2010. And latest, which is mainly from the period of 1971 to 2020. So if we are talking about some facts regarding this IMD, so IMD is nothing but India Meteorological Department. Actually, it was established in year 1875 and it mainly comes under agency, that is Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. And it is an important agency which is responsible for meteorological observations, weather forecasting and as well as seismology. So in these areas like meteorological observations, forecasting and seismology, they are very important. And next topic is about link language. Is Hindi or English beneficial as a link language? So what is this language? This link language is nothing but the language which mainly helpful for communication between the groups, between the different ethnic people and between the different religious people. So this is link language. So whether we need to go for adopt Hindi or English, which is beneficial as a link language. So this article is very important from your polity point of view. So now let us try to see, and I will try my level best to make you understand this topic. So what happened recently? Only 12 out of 35 states and union territories, they reported that Hindi as their first choice of language for communication. So according to census 2011, so out of 35 states and union territories, only 12 states and union territories, they are talking about Hindi will be like a first choice of language. But what is the rest? Rest says that they will go for English. So Hindi, it is an umbrella term which mainly encompasses 56 languages like Bhojpuri, Rajasthani, Hindi and Chhattisgarhi. So in this all languages, Hindi, it is like a umbrella term which mainly encompasses 56 languages. And if you're talking about Indians, out of 100%, so 43% of Indians, they speak Hindi and only 26% speak Hindi specifically as their mother language. So 43% of population, yes, they speak Hindi, but out of this 26% people, they will speak Hindi as their mother tongue or mother language. So this mainly leads to some controversy, okay, whether Hindi needs to be made a linked language or not. So what happened recently, our Union Home Minister, he made a statement that when citizens of states communicate with each other, they should use in the language of India. They can use Hindi as an alternative to English. So because of this, that led to mainly criticism from the opposition parties. So the argument which is mainly used for pushing Hindi as an alternative to English because it is mainly spoken by majority. So here our union minister, he mainly said why we have to use this Hindi as a link language, because so most of the people in India, they understand this Hindi rather than comparative of English. Okay, so now we need to answer a question here that which language will be beneficial for the citizens as they seek better lives, Hindi or English. So for the seeking of better life, okay, in future, so whether we need to go for seeking of Hindi or English. So this is one important question that it is in debate and we need to discuss about answer regarding this question. So if we are talking about Human Development Index of states and union territories, so this report which mainly says that higher share of English speakers, they have even higher HDI, that is Human Development Index scores as well. And whenever the states which are mainly sharing this Hindi speakers, or the states which are mainly promoting Hindi, so those states are relatively low performing in this HDI scores. So this means we can say there is some positive relationship between a higher standard of living and as well as higher share of English speakers in that so and so community. Right, so more people from Hindi speaking states, they have been migrating towards non-Hindi speaking regions in search of better livelihood. For example, especially northern Indian countries and as well as northeastern countries. Okay, so these countries people, they are mainly migrating towards the west and as well as south in search of better livelihood. And even 2017 economic survey which mainly came up with analysis of this railway passenger data. Okay, and these traveled mainly come under some unreserved compartments. Okay, so in 2017 economic survey, they mainly came up with analysis of railways passenger data and who traveled in unreserved compartments. Okay, and if you see this class of travels which mainly serves a less affluent people who are most likely to travel to work related reasons. So why these people are moving? Because of in search of livelihood, in search of jobs. They want to continue their better livelihood and better living. Okay, better living and better standards of life. So for that they are mainly migrating to states where they can get decent employment. And the states, for example, in southern India we are having Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat in the west, that is West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Punjab and Delhi. So there we can see a lot of in-migration that is seen. But if you see some states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, so from these states the people are coming outside. So we can see out migration in these states. So the states which mainly recorded net out migration, they broadly corresponded to the states which have high share of Hindi speakers. Okay, so this article which mainly says that, so whenever we are seeing this out migration from these states, that means they are having high share of Hindi speakers. So the country where in-migration is happening, so those countries are normally English speaking states. Okay, so if you are talking about analysis here, analysis of 2011 census data which mainly shows that net in-migration for Hindi states where Hindi is spoken by at least 50% of population is negative. Okay, so according to this data which mainly says that where we are seeing out migration from the state, that means especially Hindi speaking states here. So what happened, so in these areas the Hindi which is mainly spoken at least 50% of population. Okay, and we can say that migrant outflow was higher than inflow that is seen in these states. So especially in this UP, Bihar, West Bengal, etc. So there is a in-out migration, that is people who are mainly moving outside than compared to the of people who are moving in. Okay, so here this article finally says that Hindi speaking states migrate to non-Hindi states and there is a strong correlation between the regions HDI, Human Development Index, and as well as high share of English speakers. So finally author suggests that a strong case for English to be used as a link language rather than Hindi. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says Red Star over Solomon Islands. So actually this Solomon Islands is in news because of China Solomon Islands Security Cooperation Deal. So because of this, some release of some reports regarding the China Solomon Islands cooperation deal. So this is in news. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So what is the context? So there is some recent leak of documents, and these documents which mainly reveal that Solomon Islands, which are mainly located in southern Pacific region, so it mainly came up with a deal with China here. Okay, regarding security cooperation. So this is the first kind of deal for basing in this region. So because of this, this is in news. And even this matter which is also leaked in social media. As you all know that whenever anything which is released in social media means the the transmission rate will be very fast. So the social media leak of draft security cooperation document between China and as well as Solomon Islands has created a huge controversy now. Right. So now let us try to see some important details regarding this leak of papers. So leaked papers regarding this deal that mainly highlighted that a military base could be set up by China in the Solomon Islands. So first one is military base could be developed by this China in this island. And if you're talking about other countries in this region, like what are the countries of New Zealand, Australia. So Australia is the biggest aid donor and as well as chief defense partner to this tiny island, and it is also raised concerns regarding this. So apart from that, even New Zealand also raised some concerns. The Solomon Islands, they have not yet confirmed the details that were highlighted in the leaked draft agreement or if the draft has been finalized. And the Solomon Islands, however, they have come out with a statement saying that it is expanding and diversifying security arrangements with even other countries including China. So these are some important leakage of papers. So if we are talking about deployment of Chinese forces in the Solomon Islands, so this leaked paper which mainly reveals that the framework that could allow China to deploy the forces on this island, and it will be helpful to protect these Chinese personnel, okay, and as well as what are the projects they are coming up in this region, so that will be helpful for protection of these projects as well. And the nation could also request China for armed police and as well as police, military personnel, armed forces and other law enforcement forces. So there is also a provision for Chinese ships to have a stopover and to conduct logistical replenishment here in the Solomon Islands. And the document, among other stipulations, has provisions for Chinese naval vessels to utilize the islands for the logistic support. Here under this deal, they also said that here these islands can be used by China even for the logistic support as well. So there are also some speculations that China might be building a next overseas naval base in the Solomon Islands after Djibouti. So after Djibouti here, so China which is also going to have a naval base in the Solomon Islands. So all Western powers, they have reacted strongly to the news. And if you're talking about Australia, so Australia is a great power which mainly reacted with the boosted finances and as well as by extending some current security missions in this island. And if you're talking about US also responded, okay, by considering the reopening of embassy in this region. And if you're talking about China which is mainly want to counter this AUKUS, that is trilateral strategic agreement between Australia, UK and as well as US. So if you're talking about some facts regarding the Solomon Islands, it is a country in Oceania region, and this region which mainly contains 6 small islands, and the capital city is Honiara. Okay, Honiara, it is the capital city of this country, which is one of the largest island, okay, which named Guadalcanal. Okay, so the largest island is Guadalcanal. So if you see the location of the Solomon Islands, here we have Australia, and here in this Oceania part we can see this is our Solomon Islands. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding sovereign debt crisis in Sri Lanka. So this topic is important from GS paper to under international relations. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you are talking about context, so now at present Sri Lankan government decided to default on all its foreign debt worth here $51 billions. Okay, so it is mainly going to default on all its foreign debt. It is like $51 billion and mainly awaits for this financial assistance from this IMF. It is mainly waiting for getting of some financial assistance from this International Monetary Fund. And the government which mainly started that, it will took the decision to preserve its dwindling foreign reserves to pay for the import of essential items. So whenever country which is mainly getting some imports from other countries, means they need to pay in the currency like dollars, right? So for this, here this Sri Lanka government which is mainly going to preserve some forex reserves or foreign reserves to pay for the import for the essential items. And if you're talking about rating agencies like Fitch, Standard & Poor, they downgraded this Sri Lanka's sovereign debt. So if you're talking about some facts regarding the sovereign debt, it is nothing but debt which is mainly issued or accumulated by any government. So it is mainly debt issued or accumulated by any government, and the governments usually find it very much easier to borrow and to repay their local currency, as they can easily create a fresh local currency. right? And if you're talking about Sri Lanka, which mainly depends upon the tourism sector, but due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so this tourism sector, it is one of the most impacted bad. So because of this, the inflow of this US dollars to this country, which mainly decreased, and that led to this economic crisis. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding Finland and as well as Sweden to join this NATO. So already we know what is this NATO, and already we studied that Finland, which is mainly going to take decision to join this NATO or not in our yesterday's lecture. So this article is mainly talking about Russia warns against NATO enlargement. So this topic is also important from your GS paper to under international relations. So now let us try to see this topic. So if you see context, it mainly says that one of this Russian President Vladimir Putin's close allies, they mainly warned NATO on Thursday that if Sweden and as well as Finland join this US-led military alliance, then Russia would have to bolster its defense in the region, including by deploying the development, okay, nuclear weapons deployment. So if you see here we have Russia, for example, here we have USA. So whatever the countries are present here, they will be acting as a buffer between this US and Russia. So here if any two countries having enemy, means they will be want to maintain a buffer between these two countries or between the enemies. So if at all this country which is coming with a military cooperation organization, if these countries which mainly join this military cooperation, means it will be having a threat to this country Russia, right? So because of this, they want to maintain a strategic neutrality between these two countries by increasing of buffer states. So whatever the states which are present here, Sweden and Finland, so if at all they are joining this US, means that will be having some threat to this Russia. Okay, so this is the thing, this is the one important thing that you have to keep in an idea. So here what happened here, Russian President Vladimir Putin's closest allies, they mainly warned that if Sweden and Finland, they join this US-led NATO, that is military alliance, means so here Russia which is going for deploying of this nuclear weapons as well. So if we're talking about details, it mainly says that if you see about Finland especially, so Finland mainly shares 1300 kilometers of border with Russia, and Sweden which is mainly considering to join this NATO alliance. So Finland will make a decision in the next few weeks whether it is going to join this NATO or not. So in this context here, if you're talking about this, whenever this Sweden as well as Finland, they join this NATO, means then Russia would have to strengthen its land, naval and as well as air forces in the Baltic Sea. So you have to see where is this Baltic Sea is located and which are the countries comes under this Baltic countries. So that is very important, and that thing I discussed in our geography lecture series. So if you join this geography module, that module it is entirely taken by me. So there you can see Indian geography and world geography along with maps. So in the map pointing of world, I discussed about this Baltic countries, and I showed you each and every country which is present on the map. So that will be very helpful for remembering as well. So there can be no more talk for any nuclear free status for the Baltic region. So this is the thing which mainly said. And if you are talking about some facts regarding this Finland got independence from Russia in year 1917, and it got independence after fighting the two wars, okay, during the Second World War. Okay, and in this war, some territories of this Finland also lost to this Russia. So Finland announced a military exercise in the western Finland with the participation of forces. They are coming from this Britain, US and as well as Latvia and Estonia. So here you need to know where is this Latvia and as well as Estonia also present. So if you see this map here, you can see these are the Scandinavian countries. So if we're talking about Scandinavian countries, we are having normally 5 important things which mainly comes in the Scandinavian countries. Here no sweet Finn, okay, so the thing you have to remember here is no sweet Finn, no for Norway, sweet for Sweden, and here we have Finland, and below this you can see this Denmark territory. So this Denmark and Iceland. So these are the 5 countries which mainly comes in this Scandinavian countries. So here if you see this Finland, which is mainly sharing boundary with Russia here, okay, whenever NATO this Finland which is mainly joined this NATO, means here NATO forces they will come and they will station at the border, right? So because of this, what happened, so the strategic distance which is mainly decreasing for this Russia, it is one of cause of concern. So if we are talking about this NATO, it is like a military alliance. So it mainly established by this North Atlantic Treaty. So this NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it is a military alliance, and this military alliance which mainly established by this North Atlantic Treaty or we can say commonly that is Washington Treaty as well. Okay, this is the one important thing. And in this military alliance, here US, Canada and as well as several Western European countries, they will provide collective security against the Soviet Union. And there are currently about 30 members in this NATO. So with North Macedonia, okay, North Macedonia, which is mainly became the latest member to join this alliance in 2020. And now let us try to see yesterday's questions. So first one is regarding Harappan civilization. So Harappan looked upon the earth as a fertility goddess. Yes, there we found some yoni. Okay, and next one is Harappans had some kind of belief in life after death. Yes, of course. So here both 1 and 2 is correct answer. And next one, it is regarding Ikta system. So Iktas were hereditary assignments, not at all. They are not at all hereditary assignments. So Iktas were personal properties. They are not at all personal properties. And next one is the generally Iktas were transferable revenue assignments. Yes, only 3 is correct option. And today's questions are, the first one is based on Alauddin Khilji. So try to read these 3 statements and give me correct option. And next one is regarding Vijayanagara Empire. So this Vijayanagara Empire is one of the favorite topic of UPSC. So you have to be thorough with this Vijayanagara Empire before going into examination hall. So these are the 2 important questions. You have to answer these questions. So before seeing this newspaper PDF, I want to make a small announcement. So we came up with this means answer writing practice course, and it is 1 year course. So we will be giving you weekly targets and we will be giving you daily 1 question, and on Sunday essay or case study practice will be there. There will be evaluation of your answer and we also provide you model answer. So if you want to join this course, please call me on this number 8074765513. And even if you want to get the pen drive course for foundation of 2023, you can call us on this number. And now let us try to see today's Hindu newspaper PDF. So this is our today's Hindu and the date here is April 15, 2022. So I discussed this topic. Okay, first topic I discussed regarding this IMD forecast. And if you move forward here, you can see Covaxin trials in US put on hold. So actually what happened, US FDA, that is US Food and Drug Administration, which mainly put on hold the phase 2 and third clinical trial 3 of this Bharat Biotech COVID-19 vaccine. So here you need to know about what is this Covaxin. And leave the city page, and here you can see Bellure's historic Chennakeshwar temple strikes a note of harmony. So here you need to know some facts regarding this Chennakeshwar temple. And if you move forward, you will come to this editorial page. I discussed this topic and there is nothing much important topics today. And here you can talk about Reserve Bank, which is doing enough to rein in inflation. Here you can see the image of lemons. Actually the lemon cost is very high in the market. It will be ranging from 10 to 20 rupees for 1 lemon. Okay, so now here we need to talk about this monetary policy. Already you know what is this monetary policy, right? So you can easily read this article and you can understand this topic. I discussed about this link language, and I discussed about this Solomon Islands. I discussed about this sovereign debt crisis. And if you move forward in this paper, there is nothing much important, right? And here in this page number 12, so you have to know about Ambedkar because yesterday is Ambedkar Jayanti. And next one here is Navy looks for indigenous copter variants, so you can read this article. And if you move forward, I discussed about this Nato enlargement. And if you come to this business page, here you can see government capex, that is capital expenditure to spur jobs, manufacturing, says finance minister. So whenever there is increasing of capital expenditure, that will lead to establishment of manufacturing units or industries, factories, that will lead into increasing of employment opportunities. So this is the thing which mainly said here. And next topic is regarding government approved 61 projects under this PLI plan for textiles. So here you need to know about this production linked incentive scheme. So this will be very important. And these are some important articles that appeared in this today's newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.